Evil Dead franchise and timeline explained in detail, plus how to kill a Deadite. Depending on the movies you watched as an impressionable child, you either know Sam Raimi for the Toby Maguire-starring Spiderman trilogy, or the supernatural horror comedy, The Evil Dead trilogy. The 1981 classic Evil Dead was the first movie Sam Raimi directed that he was credited for. It was a dream come true for him, and he even dropped out of college to shoot the film. He was not even 20 when he collected the funds for his Evil Dead movie and started shooting. Evil Dead introduced to us the entities that came out of the Necronomicon Ex-Mortis, or the Book of the Dead, after reading the book out loud. These entities, who once ruled the world, can possess the living and the dead. They impart supernatural strength to those they possess, and can live even if the host is decapitated. But the real legend that the franchise has bestowed upon us is the one and only Bruce Campbell. It's near impossible to forget his acting in the first two parts of the Evil Dead trilogy. The movie embraced its comedic elements, and Bruce went all out with his expressions. It's his facial acting that accentuates the movie to a whole new level and keeps people hooked. And the special effects, man, it was cheap, but it was phenomenal in the way it was used. In this video, we'll talk about the fictional creatures of the movies, the Deadites, who are they, where they come from, and, most importantly, how to kill them. We'll also talk about all Evil Dead movies and the TV series, and what's in store for the franchise in the future. Having said that, let's not forget that there has been a multitude of Evil Dead stories in the movies, comics, and video games. The lore has some common aspects, but vastly differs from each other. We'll stick to the movies and the TV series for consistency, so that we can tell you one coherent lore. Hello there, everybody! Before we get into our list, we have a very small request. If you like our content, please support us by subscribing to our channel and clicking the little bell icon up in the corner to get notifications. This is a small click for you, but means a lot to us. Ready? Let's begin. This is going to be a big video, so make sure that you have some snacks and something to drink.
I will rip your soul out, Daddy.
I'll rip your soul out, you pathetic fuck!
Who are the Deadites? Deadites are the spirit of the undead. These spirits once had free reign on Earth before the human race. Afterward, they were banished from this reality and trapped in a mirror dimension. They were created by a demon called the Kandarian. They feast on human souls so they can live again. The exciting thing is, their human host does not even need to be alive to be possessed by a Deadite. It will take over the body, give the person supernatural strength to kill another human, so their soul can be possessed by another Deadite. It's like a plague that keeps on spreading. Since they are trapped in another dimension, they can't enter the reality of humans, but there is a tool that can open the gate for them. The tool is a book that goes by different names: Necronomicon Ex-Mortis, the Book of the Dead, and Necronomicon. This book has been the source of all problems in the Evil Dead universe. This book, allegedly made with human skin and written with human blood, controls the Deadites. It is present in the reality of humans. Ash, played by Bruce Campbell, finds the book and a tape recorder next to it. The Deadites come to life when Ash plays the tape. Of course, the recording is not whole because Mr. Noby, who read it, died soon after reading the passages that released the Deadites from their binds. And, since no one in the cabin can read the Sumerian text in the Necronomicon Ex-Mortis, Ash and his friends are left alone to deal with the Deadites. Not once, but twice. What's the pickle then? Deadites are entities that exist as a force and do not have a tangible form. This severely restricts ways on how they can be stopped. That's what Ash and his friends try to figure out in The Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. It becomes a bloody massacre in the cabin, but we all know our dear friend emerges with a badass chainsaw for his hand. How can the Deadites be killed? The most common method of killing a Deadite is by dismemberment. These are supernatural entities that do not have a shape or form. Their shape is the host they infect. Once that happens, the only way to stop a Deadite is by cutting off the host arms, legs, and the head so they can no longer move. After Linda, Ash's girlfriend, is possessed by a Deadite, Ash kills her by decapitating her with a shovel. Afterward, he does make an attempt to escape the cabin once and for all. But his plan soon fails when he is chased back to the cabin by the Kandarian demon. There, his girlfriend's head comes alive and bites his hand. The headless body of Linda also attacks him, and he slashes her to death for one final time. Since the Deadites can move even after decapitation, the only way to stop them is to dismember the possessed person, that no part of their body can attack you. The second step to get rid of the Deadite without killing the person is to go out into the sunlight. This is a compelling method shown in Evil Dead 2 after Ash is possessed. Soon after he goes out into the sun, the spirit leaves his body. Although it is not the most effective way to get rid of a Deadite, sunlight seemed to weaken the Deadite in him, allowing Ash to overpower the spirit and control his body. Now remember, this may not work if your willpower is not as strong as Ash. And, if nothing else works, there's always the Kandarian dagger that you can use to stab the possessed. Whether this stabbing traps the spirit in the dagger or kills it permanently is up for debate and discussed in different mediums. What concerns us is that it rids the person or the body of the Deadite. In the final season of Ash vs. Evil Dead, Ash attaches the Kandarian dagger to a tank shell before firing it at Kandor the Destroyer. The shell and the dagger go straight through its mouth to its chest. Another option you have at hand is to burn the source of all problems, Necronomicon Ex-Mortis. In The Evil Dead, Ash throws the book into the fireplace, and as the book burns and melts, the Deadites are immobilized, and they slowly die away. Last, and another effective method, is to read the passage from the book that calls back the Deadites. The book is the source of all their power. When Professor Nobi read certain passages aloud, it brought the Deadites to Earth, possessed his wife, and claimed his soul before reading the book. Of course, if he would have kept reading the book, he would have sent the Deadites back to the mirror dimension. In the movie, Necronomicon Ex-Mortis works as a remote for the Deadites. They are controlled by it. If they can be brought to Earth by using it, they can be sent back by reading the book. This is what Annie, Professor Nobi's daughter, does in The Evil Dead 2. When she starts reading the passages to send back the Deadites, the possessed and dismembered hand of Ash stabs her in the back. But she completes reading the passage anyway, before taking her last breath, opening up a vortex to suck away the Deadites. Unfortunately, our hero gets sucked into the vortex too. With these methods, you should be able to fight a Deadite if they ever come to attack you. However, our word of caution will be that if you find the Necronomicon Ex-Mortis, burn it immediately, without even opening it. Close the dimension forever. Timeline of The Evil Dead. Even after the grand success of the first Evil Dead movie, Sam Raimi could not get the rights to make the second Evil Dead movie. He had to start afresh with Evil Dead 2, and followed it with Army of Darkness, somehow making it a trilogy. If we start to explain what exactly happened with the rights to the first Evil Dead movie, it would take another 15 minutes. We will tackle that some other time. Then, there was another Evil Dead, by Fede Alvarez in 2013. That was a remake of the original Evil Dead with different characters. This was followed by a 2015 TV series, Ash vs. Evil Dead, wherein Campbell reprised his role. The show ran for 3 seasons before calling it quits. So, because there are remakes, TV series, video games, and the comic books, the timeline can be confusing. We'll break down the events of all 4 movies and the TV series in the order they were released, and follow the timeline. Because the best way to follow a timeline is to understand how the creator told the story. Let's begin.
Spades, jack of diamonds, jack of clubs.
Why have you disturbed our sleep?
Number 1. The Evil Dead, 1981. 5 university students. Ash, our hero. Linda, his girlfriend. Cheryl, his sister. Scott, Ash's friend. And Shelley, Scott's girlfriend, travel to an isolated cabin in countryside Tennessee. Immediately, they notice the swing moving by itself, which stops as soon as Scott grabs the doorknob. What should have been a sign for them to leave the cabin, but they decide to stay. They also inadvertently break the only bridge that connected them to the rest of the world on their way here. With them now disconnected from the world, Deadites start becoming active. First, Cheryl's hand gets possessed while drawing a clock. Hearing whispers, she draws a sketch of a book resembling the Necronomicon Ex-Mortis. Later, a trap door is swung open while everyone is having dinner. Scott and Ash come back after investigating the cellar with a book and a tape recorder. The tape recorder is played. The Deadites, who were a bit hesitant till now, get free reign over the cabin. Soon enough, they are attacked by demonic entities and demonically possessed trees. By the end of the movie, everyone is possessed and killed, except for our hero, Ash. He is saved by the bell when he throws the book into the fire. The film ends on a cliffhanger, as an unseen entity attacks Ash from behind. Sam Raimi sought the funding for the Evil Dead movie after making a short film titled Within the Woods. He did receive some funding, but not the amount he needed. Taking in whatever he had by the time, he decided to make the movie on the limited budget. He turned 20 a little before the principal photography of the movie began. Several unconventional methods were employed in the movie marketing. Eventually, it was a sleeper hit. In the UK, The Evil Dead was such a massive hit that its box office earnings dominated Stanley Kubrick's The Shining.
Swallow your soul.
Number 2. Evil Dead 2, Dead by Dawn, 1987. It begins by telling a recap of the previous movie, wherein only Ash and Linda travel to the cabin for spring break. This time, the character of Linda is played by Denise Bexler. After this quick recap, we get to know that after the events of the previous movie, Ash is now possessed by an evil entity, but he is saved as the sun comes up. He tries to drive away from the location, because, of course, who would want to explore another night at an already occupied cabin, only to find the bridge broken. Which he'd have known if he had been paying attention in the first movie. Anyway, he reaches back to the cabin by nightfall. He is then attacked by the headless body of his girlfriend with a chainsaw. He chainsaws Linda, but not before her head bites his hand. Ash's hand now becomes possessed. After smashing bone china plates on his head, he dismembers his hand. On the other side, Annie Noby discovers a few more Necronomicon Ex-Mortis pages and decides to visit the cabin herself with her research partner and 2 locals. It was her father, after all, who tape recorded the book, and she wants to find out what happened afterward. Somewhere in the movie, Ash starts using a chainsaw attached to his stump after he lost his right hand. Again, by the end of the movie, no one but Ash survives. And that too, with a twist. Because just before dying, Annie completes reading aloud the passage that would stop the Deadites. It opens a vortex. It sucks the Deadites into it, but also Ash, his Oldsmobile Delta, and a shotgun. Ash finds himself in 1300 AD on the other side of the vortex. Evil Dead 2 ideally should have been the sequel of Evil Dead, but it wasn't due to the rights issues. New Line Cinema, distributor of The Evil Dead, did not trust Sam Raimi with a sequel, so Raimi sought the funding himself again. Stephen King, who had given glaring reviews of the first movie, helped Raimi seek this funding. This time around, Raimi and Campbell embraced the comedic aspects of the story, making it a bigger hit than the first movie. At the end of it all, Raimi made a surprisingly good movie after King helped him get the funding. This got the story back into his hands, and now he could make a sequel. Number 4. Evil Dead 2013. 5 friends, David, Natalie, Maya, Eric, and Olivia, travel to a countryside cabin, disconnected from the world as an intervention to help Maya with her heroin addiction. When she starts seeing hallucinations and begs her friends to leave, they discredit her, saying that she is just experiencing withdrawal symptoms and that she should ignore it. Overcoming addiction is not easy, but what they don't know is that the cabin has its own history. and what Maya's experiencing are not hallucinations. Soon enough, they find a book called Necronomicon, the Book of the Dead, in the cellar littered with animal corpses and a shotgun. What now should have been a definite sign of leaving the cabin permanently behind, Eric takes it as a sign to read the book out loud. This frees the Taker of Souls, otherwise known as the Kandarian Demon, and the Deadites with it. They claim 4 souls, and only Maya is able to save herself, but not before cutting off her hand and slashing the abomination in half with a chainsaw. Unbeknownst to her, the Necronomicon is still intact and unharmed despite the cabin being burnt down. One of the reasons the movie is good is because the creators of the 1981 classic are involved. Sam Raimi, Robert Tappert, and Bruce Campbell are the producers of the movie. Fede Alvarez did a fantastic job in remaking the film. His take on Evil Dead is phenomenal. He wanted to make a movie that pays homage to 80s horror, using only props, makeup, and negligible CGI. And that's precisely what he does. It's a reboot of the original movie with some things changed. Although it has been widely loved by fans and critics alike, an aspect not liked by some people is the lack of absurd comedy that is prevalent in the original trilogy. It is a new take on the story. It is more brutal, terrifying, and gory. Plus, in the post-credits scene, we get that cameo we were all waiting for. Bruce Campbell himself. Number 5. Ash vs. Evil Dead, 2015 to 2018. The story of Ash vs. Evil Dead is set nearly 30 years after the night at the cabin. It is meant to be a sequel to the trilogy. Ash has changed his company from S-Smart to Value Stop, but the plague of Deadites is on the rise again. Ash must once again step up to save humanity with his chainsaw and the mighty boomstick. Because of the rights issue, several events from the original trilogy are not discussed, but merely alluded to. It ends with Ash killing the Kandarian demon, and someone afterwards says that there is still work to be done. However, the series was cancelled after 3 seasons, and, sadly, Campbell has stated that he has given rest to his character and won't be playing him again in the future. Now that we're done talking about the timeline of the Deadites and how they got defeated thrice, let's move on to what more does the franchise have to offer. What's the future of the Evil Dead franchise? Speculations started floating after the release of Evil Dead 2013 for its sequel. Several rumors started to float around. Some said it's going to be a straight sequel, but the director Alvarez won't be involved. And other rumors suggest that there's going to be a crossover of Ash and Maya's story, in which Alvarez did show interest, but things were repeatedly in plans and got cancelled immediately. The official announcement came this year in June. Raimi said that another Evil Dead movie was in the making, directed and written by Lee Cronin. Raimi personally chose the director because he saw the potential and right ideas to take the franchise forward. The new film scene. We know for sure that there will be definitely at least one more Evil Dead movie, and we can't wait to see what it will offer for the fans. This is all the time we had for today's episode. We hope you guys liked it. So it would be awesome if you guys could take some time to subscribe to our channel. Also, push that bell icon so you get notifications whenever we post a new video. And don't forget to tell us which topics you want us to cover in the comments section. And stay safe.